The heavy oak door to the boardroom swung closed just inches from my nose, sealing me out with a definitive thud. Through the blurred panes of etched glass, I could make out my dad's outline settling into his usual spot at the far end of the long table, my mom right next to him, and about a dozen other shapes shifting into place around what they all treated like the throne room of Horizon Enterprises. Sarah, the senior admin who'd been with the company forever, stood there looking like she'd just accidentally spilled coffee on the CEO's lap. "I'm really sorry about this," she whispered, her face flushed. "I had no clue you weren't on the invite list for this planning huddle. Your folks made it clear it was just for the top brass." "It's okay, Sarah, honestly." I shifted my messenger bag on my shoulder and turned toward the bank of elevators. "I've got a stack of reports waiting for me anyway." She trailed after me, her sensible pumps echoing sharply against the polished stone floor. "But you're always knee-deep in those end-of-quarter breakdowns. I figured you'd be right in there with the XX, hashing out the big picture." I hit the down button, keeping my face as blank as a fresh spreadsheet. My parents have their own way of running things, I suppose. What I kept to myself was that I'd seen this coming from a mile away. Ever since Dad got back from his health hiatus a few months back, he'd been methodically edging me out of every key conversation. Budget talks, client pitches, growth strategies, anything that actually moved the needle was now reserved for the real leaders. And apparently, my role as a mid-level finance specialist didn't cut it anymore. The elevator dinged open, and I stepped in, catching my own image in the mirrored walls. 29, in a no-frills navy blazer from a discount store, light lipstick, hair pulled back in a basic knot. I looked precisely like the reliable but forgettable staffer my parents pegged me for. Someone who'd landed her job more out of blood ties than brains. They had no inkling of the storm they'd just unleashed. My phone vibrated as the car dropped toward the underground lot. A text from Daniel Thompson, our CFO. "Emily, got a minute for a chat? It's pressing." I held off until I was in the dim glow of the parking level before dialing him. Daniel had been steering the finances for nearly a decade, brought on by my grandpa before he passed. He was one of the few in the whole outfit who knew the real score on Horizon's setup. "Emily," his tone was clipped, like he was biting back frustration. "Tell me you're clued in on what's unfolding up there in that room." "If you mean my parents bearing me from the vision meeting, yeah, I'm in the loop. They're gearing up to roll out a full overhaul, new client goals, updated earnings forecasts, ditching our community outreach arm. And here's the kicker, they're pushing for $200 million in loans to bankroll a push into high-end retail spaces." I fumbled with my car keys, but stayed put outside the door. They can't greenlight borrowing like that without the okay from the controlling owner. "You and I both know that, but your mom and dad seem to think that as the original starters and heads, they can call the shots on anything big." He hesitated. "Emily, they're set to pitch this as a done deal from the family side and call for a vote in about half an hour. And the board. Most are old pals of your parents. They'll fall in line with whatever Michael and Susan say. The only pushback might come from me, Laura from Ops, and maybe Jonathan from Legal. We'll get steamrolled, 8-3. I finally climbed into the driver's seat, cracking the door for air. What if the board signs off? They'll jump straight into action. By close of day, they'll have inked deals with a couple of banks. Come Monday, they'll break the news about shutting down the community arm to the team. By week's end, around 50 folks will be out of work, and we'll be locked into debt our setup can't handle. The community outreach arm. That's where I'd been embedded for the past year and a half after shifting from core accounting. We offered budget-friendly office spots and guidance to new ventures and local shops. the sort of steady, unglitzy work my parents always dismissed as sideline stuff, not the main event. Yet it had boosted client loyalty by 25% and kept the books in the black for over a year straight. Daniel, I need a favor. Anything. In precisely 25 minutes, blast a alert to every device in that room. Frame it as a critical legal warning. Have it say urgent notice. Any company moves needing owner sign-off must have verified agreement from the primary stakeholder per Article 8.2 of our charter and state regs. Skipping this could void decisions and expose directors to lawsuits. That's going to stir up a hornet's nest. Exactly what I'm aiming for. I'll be back in 20. Emily, you positive? Once you lay this out, it's permanent. Your parents will. I get it, Daniel. But they've boxed me in. I ended the call and sat in the hushed cabin of my car, steadying my breath. This move would shatter things with Mom and Dad, at least for now. It'd blow open a truth I'd guarded for years. It'd thrust me into the spotlight I'd dodged while soaking up the ins and outs of the operation. But it'd safeguard 50 livelihoods, preserve the outreach program I'd nurtured, and stop my folks from saddling the firm with debt that could sink Grandpa's legacy. I eased out of the spot and pointed the car not toward the tower, but my place a short drive off. I had to swap outfits, grab key papers, and brace myself mentally. 3 years back, Grandpa had summoned me to his den, just days before the end. The illness had worn him down physically, but his wits were as keen as ever. Emily, he'd said, drawing out my name like he did for weighty talks. There's something about your future here that I have to explain, and I want you to hear me out fully. I'd perched on the edge of the old leather chair, sunlight streaming through the curtains of the home, where I'd logged countless childhood visits. Your parents are pros at their game, schmoozing clients, putting on shows, building connections. Your dad spots trends like nobody's business, and your mom can charm the toughest accounts. They've taken Horizon from a local outfit to a powerhouse in property management. He'd caught his breath, wheezing a bit, but they missed the bedrock. They view the company as a rocket for gains and glory, which has its place, but it's only half the story. Horizon thrives on deep ties, helping firms big and small, prizing steady ground over wild bets. I get it, Grandpa. Your folks will push to jazz it up, go bolder, and yeah, that might pay off quick, but over time it'll erode what we've got. His gaze had pinned me, fierce despite the frailty, so I'm handing you the reins. At 26, plugging away as a junior number, cruncher in finance, crashing in a tiny rental, tooling around in my beat-up hatchback. The notion of overseeing a $500 million enterprise felt like a joke. You're not there yet, he'd added, sensing my shock. That's why it kicks in on your 30th. And it's wrapped in a quiet trust that hides your stake until you're ready to claim it. Use these years to dive deep, rotate through teams, grasp how choices ripple from the sea, suit to the custodians. What about Mom and Dad? They'll get 20% apiece. Enough to matter, but not to steamroll risky calls. He'd managed a wry grin. They'll be steamed when it surfaces. Betrayed, sidelined, stung. But this isn't payback, Emily. It's preservation. Who else is in on it? Daniel knows for the books. My lawyer does. The trust admin. And come your birthday, you'll get the full packet. Till then, zip it. To your parents, buddies, dates, everyone. Master this place top to bottom. When push comes to shove, you'll step up. That chat was over 3 years ago now. My big 3, hit 6 months back. And for those months, I'd kept grinding in the outreach group, sticking with my aging ride, my simple digs, watching Mom and Dad inch toward the flashy overhauls Grandpa had flagged. I'd prayed they'd pivot, that Dad's scare would spark a rethink on balanced expansion. I'd hoped I could stay in the shadows. But wishes don't seal deals. At home, I ditched the everyday threads for the one sharp ensemble I'd splurged on for this exact scenario. A sleek black wool number from a high-end label. Never touched till now. I twisted my hair up neatly, did my face with more care, slipped into pumps that gave me extra stature. The mirror showed someone far from a junior staffer. I scooped up the binder Daniel had prepped ages ago, all the ownership proofs, filings, trust docs, legal stamps affirming my clout. Then I rang my lawyer, Ethan Blackwell. Emily, is this the moment we've been prepping for? Yep. Meet me at Horizon in 10. On my way. I've had everything lined up for months. Do your parents suspect? Not a whiff. This'll hit like a freight train, no kidding. Ethan, gear up for pushback. They'll question my skills, my rights, my motives. Dad'll say I'm green, Mom'll call it a guilt trip. It'll get raw. And you'll keep it pro. Lean on the rules, the law. Make clear you're not chasing their buy-in. You're invoking what's yours by right, backed by the founder and every court that matters. Spot on. See you shortly. The trip back to the office ate up 15 minutes. I used it to rehearse my pitch, the ownership breakdown, the must-have approvals for big swings, and the backup plan I'd hammered out over half a year. I wasn't just nixing their scheme, I was slotting in something smarter. Pulled in at 3:05. The session was slated till 5, so they'd be deep in their spiel. Daniel's ping had dropped 10 minutes prior. Ethan waited in the foyer, briefcase in grip. Set, as I'll get. We rode up to the top floor. Sarah glanced up, her jaw dropping at my makeover. Ms. Harper, didn't think you'd circle back. Got to crash the party. Sarah, I'm not certain. Your parents were adamant about no interruptions. Ethan eased in. This touches on governance and must-dos. Miss Harper has the standing to step in per clause 8.2 of the bylaws. Sarah wavered, glancing between us. Before she could stall, the door cracked, and Daniel poked out, face poker straight. Emily, right on cue. The group's hit a snag that needs your take. Beyond him, Mom and Dad stood at the projector, phones in hand, brows furrowed. Others milled some tapping screens. What's this? Mom demanded. Who fired off that alert? Daniel, your team. Sort of. He moved aside. Ms. Harper's here to sort the compliance hitch. I strode in, Ethan flanking me, and the buzz cut off. Dad's eyes narrowed from puzzlement to annoyance. Emily, bad timing. We're mid-flow on key plans, I know. And those plans hit triggers for owner nod, which you lack. Mom lowered her device. Honey, whatever you've heard, this is exec turf. Not here as an exec mom. As the primary owner of Horizon Enterprises. The room went dead quiet. Dad cycled through shock, doubt, then a patronizing smirk. Emily, where'd that come from? Your mom and I founded and own this place, 50-50. Wrong, Dad. I placed my binder down, handing out copies. These lay out Horizon's true shares as per William Harper's estate and the Harper Trust. Ethan cleared his throat. Ethan Blackwell, trust advisor. Here to set the record on ownership, which seems muddled for some. Richard, Dad's longtime ally on the board, flipped through. This claims 55% to Emily Harper. Accurate, Ethan affirmed. William set the trust in 2020, passing control to his granddaughter Emily on her 30th, 5 months ago. Michael and Susan Harper hold 18% each, with the rest in small family pots. Mom blanched. Impossible. Dad would have looped us in. He did, Mom. He updated the will years back, and you both sat through the lawyer's rundown. You brushed it off, figuring I'd never claim it, or you'd talk me into proxies. Dad's knuckles whitened on the table. This is nonsense. You're a finance coordinator. No top-tier chops, no command history. I've got 3 years rotating through accounting, logistics, client care, site ops, and lately the outreach wing. The one you're axing in this revamp. Emily grasped the full scope. I do, Dad. You're dumping outreach for slim margins versus ritzy retail. Borrowing $200 million to chase it, tilting us to volatile bets. I hooked my tablet to the screen. But here's the blind spots: outreach holds 90% loyalty, steady inflows, low hazards. Plus, 40% of those clients scale up to our premium spots. Bored eyes locked on the charts. Crucially, that debt would strap us at 3 times earnings. Way over the safe 2.0 benchmark. We'd need a 35% revenue spike to cover it, and any dip could tank us. Laura from Ops piped up. Emily, this breakdown's solid. How long on it? 5 months since whispers of the push surfaced. Next slide, my counter. Grow outreach to 3 new zones with proven need. 25 mil cap from reserves, no loans. 8 to 15% lift over 4 years. Solid, expandable, true to our roots. Daniel dipped his chin in quiet support. Dad bolted up. Absurd. You're our kid, not a visionary. We slotted you low to build skills, not to dictate. Michael, Ethan interjected calmly, her creds don't touch the facts. She owns 55%. Undeniable. Major shifts need her sign off, and this qualifies. Mom sharpened. You lack the know-how, Emily. You'll wreck what we've forged. Grandpa forged it, Mom. You two scaled it, kudos, but not the base. I scanned the group. William launched Horizon in 1990 with 1 warehouse and a creed enduring progress over Flash. 35 years, it held. We weathered recessions and leveraged, rode storms on tenant bonds. Richard coughed. Michael, Susan, let's pause. Legally, it's cut and dried. Emily's call on big moves. She's 30, Dad barked. Clueless. 30, Dad, and prepped as Grandpa mandated. I shut the binder, meeting his stare. I see the rage, the sense of stab in the back. But this guards the firm. 200 employees' lives, 300 partners, fair returns. No right, every right, by law, ethics, duty. To the board, I veto this plan. Outreach stays, no mega debt, no cuts. Jonathan from legal, as top owner you can block, but mind all interests. Your parents 40%. Got a growth fix. Yes, I queued another deck. A 6-year roadmap drawn with leads from ops, finance, dev, keeps outreach, adds health suites and pro offices, stable sectors. For the next half hour, I unpacked data, studies, forecasts, risks, rollout. I'd built it stealthily, polling managers who saw me as just a diligent analyst. By end, nods rippled. Richard jotted notes. Laura quizzed on logistics. Mom and Dad stewed. Dad red-faced, Mom stone. Daniel broke in. As CFO, this seems viable, safer than the debt path. Suggest board vet it next meet. Seconded, Laura said. Jonathan agreed. Needs review but strong start. Dad shoved back. Need words with my daughter alone. Michael, maybe not. Daniel started. Now. Ethan nodded to me. I'll wait out here. We filed to Dad's suit wordlessly. Door latched, he whirled. How dare you, after all we've handed you. A spot here. A starter role you kept me from climbing, I replied even. Ideas shot down as green, input ignored. 3 years as charity case, not asset. Mom iced. You schemed with Grandpa to snatch our firm. He tasked me with shielding his work, not theft. And it's not solely yours, always stewards, made clear in his will. Unfit, Dad said, you'll botch it. Like blocking debt that could crush us on a whim. Like saving a winter wing you scorn for not being glam. Outreach drags us. It's our core, fosters growth ties, sets us apart as allies, not extractors. Mom shook head. Idealistic drivel. Ties matter in real estate, Mom. Our hold rates our edge, 95% occupancy in slumps. Grandpa knew, I know. You do too if honest. Dad slumped in his chair. Now what? You override us, make us puppets. Up to you. If you collaborate, hear data, weigh options beyond your circle, we partner. Your networking smarts, my planning, joint calls for all. Or, Mom cold. Sell your 40, start fresh. Horizon endures. Don't want that, truly. Prefer teaming, but won't let ego gut Grandpa's build. I exited fast, Ethan waited. Rough. As predicted, fuming, wounded, sure I'll flop. I massaged my brow. Messy ahead. Shifts are, he matched my pace to the lift. Your pitch, top notch? Williamed beam. Hope so. In the car, fatigue hit. Ethan, legally next. Board slates your plan review, say 10 days. Parents counter likely. If they bolt, buy out their share, you or new blood. Value of 40. Roughly 250 mil. Woo, that'll talk. Phone pinged. Daniel outreach team's grateful. Rumors had them panicked. Can say they're secure. Yes, and book division leads for tomorrow. Want their input on expansion. Ethan escorted to my old compact amid luxury rides. Upgrade someday. Owner's project image. Maybe, but this car's my ground level badge. William stuck with his rusty van till the end. He'd get it. Homeward, I mulled the whirlwind's secret out after years. Board challenge to parents. Hidden plan unveiled. Family bonds frayed. Phone rang mom. Debated ignoring, then picked up. Hey, your dad and I need space to digest. Voice taut but steady. Not set for partnership talks. Fair. But we're not bailing either. Pause. Grandpa picked you for cause. Disagree, but respect him too much to dismiss. Will eye your plan fair, seek common ground. Thanks, Mom. All I want. Not yet, still boiling, Emily. Long road. I know. Parked at my place, I lingered, drained yet unburdened. 3 years secret lifted. Watched parents' calls I opposed in silence, prepping. Dual existence over, clerk above, owner below. Truth free now. Company learn tomorrow. Change loomed. Inside my cozy unit. Picked for proximity to our sites to feel the pulse. I'd upgrade eventually, wardrobe too. But not yet. Today saved 50 gigs, upheld a key arm, honored Grandpa enough. Swapped suit for sweats, fired up laptop for outreach notes. Real grind starting. Ownership's not rule. Earned via skill, steadiness, care. 3 years prepped me. Lifetime to earn it. Phone buzzed. Daniel bored in 2 weeks. Parents rebuttal then. Brace. Smiled, replied prepped for years. Window views sparkled with city glow. Out there, 50 slept sound, jobs intact. Parents wrestled hurt, maybe budding regard. Local firms hummed on without hitch. Grandpa's vision secure. Finally faced my dread errors, letdowns, validating parents' doubts. Market misreads, plan flaws. Stifling growth for tradition. But fear no retreat. Grandpa trusted amid that opposition trials. His faith sufficed. Lights out bedward, mind on dawn's tests. Board dissect, parents counter to paint me novice. Staffed eye my medal, but 3 years immersion. Ops mastery rivaling Daniel's. New clients, stance, strengths gaps. I was Horizon's top owner. Time to show Grandpa's bet paid off. From tomorrow. But let's rewind a bit, because to really understand how I got to that point, I need to take you back to those early days after Grandpa's conversation. It wasn't like I woke up the next morning, ready to conquer the company. Far from it. I was terrified, overwhelmed, and honestly, a little resentful. Why me? Why not my parents who had poured their lives into Horizon? But Grandpa had his reasons, and as the weeks turned into months, I started to see them. My first rotation was in accounting, where I'd already been plugging away. But now, I looked at it differently. Instead of just crunching numbers, I asked questions. Why did we allocate budgets this way? What if we shifted resources from luxury maintenance to outreach repairs? The team there, a mix of veterans and newbies, opened up when they saw I was genuinely curious. One guy, Tom, who'd been with us for 15 years, shared stories of the 2008 crash, how Grandpa had cut his own pay to keep everyone on, focusing on tenant support rather than evictions. That stuck with me. After 6 months, I moved to logistics. This was eye-opening. I spent days in warehouses, learning how supplies flowed, how delays in one area rippled to client satisfaction. I remember one incident where a storm knocked out power to an outreach site, and the team scrambled to get generators in. My parents wanted to bill the tenants extra for the hassle, but I suggested waiving it. Building goodwill. They overruled me, of course, but I noted how those tenants grumbled and how retention dipped slightly that quarter. It was a small thing, but it reinforced Grandpa's philosophy. In client care, I shadowed reps on calls and visits. Met a startup founder named Lisa, who ran a small tech firm in our outreach spaces. She told me how our flexible leases let her scale without fear of overcommitment. Other places treat you like a number, she said. Here, it's like family. That conversation fueled my passion for the division. Property ops was next. Hands-on gritty work. I toured sites, talked to janitors like Miguel, who knew every building's quirks. He shared how quick fixes in outreach areas kept morale high among tenants. They notice when we care, he said, and care we did, under Grandpa. We'd invested in green upgrades that cut costs long-term. My parents saw them as extras. I saw sustainability. Finally, the outreach arm itself. By then, I'd been incognito owner for 2 years. I dove in, analyzing data, suggesting tweaks. Worked with a team lead, Carla, on retention programs, workshops, networking events. We turned a 20% churn into single digits. Examples piled up: a bakery that grew from our space to a chain, crediting our advice, a nonprofit that stabilized thanks to low rents. These weren't just stats, they were lives, dreams. All the while, I watched my parents. Dad, post-scare, pushed harder for glamour, attending galas, courting big developers. Mom networked relentlessly, landing flashy deals. But I saw cracks: a luxury project over budget, tenants fleeing high rents during a slowdown. I'd draft reports highlighting risks, but they'd dismiss them. Emily, stick to your lane, Dad would say. It hurt, but I learned patience. Meanwhile, I built my plan in secret. Late nights poring over market reports. No tools needed since I had access internally. Identified growth pockets. Emerging neighborhoods hungry for affordable hubs. Crunched numbers showing modest investment yielding steady returns. Consulted subtly with allies like Laura, who shared ops insights without knowing my endgame. There were personal moments too. One evening, after a long day, I visited Grandpa's old house, now mine, though I hadn't moved in, sat in his study, flipping through journals. Entries on early struggles, turning down quick, buck flips for long-haul builds. Stability breeds loyalty, he'd written. It bolstered me. Another time, I confided vaguely to a friend over coffee, without details. Family business drama, I said. She advised, stand your ground if it's right. Simple, but it helped. Emotions ran high: guilt for the secret, anger at parents' blindness, excitement for potential. I journaled too, processing fears. What if I failed? But each rotation built confidence. Back to the day after the reveal. Morning hit, and I was up early, nerves buzzing. Dressed sharp, but not overdone, wanted approachable. Headed to the office for the outreach meet. Carla and her crew waited in a small conference room, faces a mix of relief and curiosity. Rumors had flown overnight. Is it true? Carla asked. Division safe? Yes, and more. We're expanding. I laid out ideas: new sites, enhanced services like mentorship programs. They jumped in with examples. A tenant needing digital marketing help, another seeking funding ties. We brainstormed for hours, turning abstract plans into concrete steps. One guy, Raj, shared a story of his own startup days, how outreach, like support, saved him. It felt collaborative, real, words spread fast. By lunch, whispers turned to chats. Employees stopping me in halls. Thanks for fighting for us, one said. It was humbling. Afternoon, Daniel dropped by my temp office. I'd claimed a quiet spot. Boards buzzing. Your plans got traction. But parents. Prepping counters. Indeed, over the next days, tension simmered. Mom emailed curtly reviewing docs. Dad avoided me. I focused on work, site visits, tenant calls. Met a family-run cafe owner, Maria, facing rent hikes elsewhere. Your spaces let us breathe, she said, reinforced my stance. A week in, a surprise mom called for dinner. Neutral ground, a quiet bistro. We sat awkwardly at first. We're hurt, she admitted. Felt blindsided. I know, and sorry for that part. But Grandpa saw risks in your approach. Dad nodded slowly. He always was cautious. We talked. Not business, but memories. Grandpa's stories, family trips. It thought a bit. We'll present our side, Mom said, but open to compromise. Progress. Board day loomed. I refined my deck, adding fresh data from outreach inputs. Ethan reviewed, ironclad. The meeting was packed, full board execs. Parents led with their vision, bold growth, debt, fueled leaps. Slick, but I countered with stats. Risk models showing potential defaults versus my plan's projections 10% annual gains, no leverage. Examples flowed, past overreaches that cost us like a failed luxury tower in 15. Board debated Richard. Emily's numbers hold water. Laura opts wise, sustainable. Votes swung my way 7-4, 3 against. Parents abstaining. Victory but bittersweet. Post-meet, parents approached. Impressive. Dad grudged. Let's talk hybrid we did over weeks. Merging elements targeted luxury with outreach feeders. Compromises, but aligned. Emotions eased, family dinners resumed tentative. I upgraded gradually, new car, better place. But kept roots, visited outreach sites, chatted with staff. Leadership earned daily town halls where I shared Grandpa's ethos, invited ideas. One session, an employee pitched eco upgrades we implemented, boosting appeal. Months on horizon hummed, growth steady, debt-free. Outreach boomed, feeding mains. Parents adapted, their skills shining in balanced framework. I reflected often, fear lingered, but action quelled it. Grandpa's trust honored. Legacy, thriving. And through it all, the emotional roller coaster. The doubts at night, joys in small wins, like seeing a tenant thrive. Conversations with Daniel over coffee, strategizing. Even a date or two, where I shared vaguely, finding support. It wasn't just business. It was personal growth, family mending, purpose found. The tone of it all, hopeful despite hurdles, because in the end, it's about building, not breaking. This script is fully original and does not reproduce the source text word for word.